When it comes to Western philosophy and specifically epistemology, no other person can be said to be as influential as René Descartes. Descartes was a French philosopher in the 1600s who was very much interested in finding the foundation of epistemology, something that cannot be doubted in any way possible, something that we can be sure of without a shadow of a doubt. And one of his most famous quotes that he came up with was, "I think, therefore I am." After he came up with this, he tried to use this as a foundation in order to prove the existence and goodness of God. But this is where the fatal flaw in his reasoning relies. Right when he tried to establish the goodness and existence of God in order to hold up his foundation of I think, therefore I am, he ended up making a huge mistake. So in this video, I'm first going to go over what I think, therefore I am even means and what Descartes meant by it and some of the definitions that he used in order to establish this. And then the argument that he uses in order to try to base all these perceptions, all this knowledge upon God, and then why this reasoning ultimately fails, why this reasoning ultimately has a huge flaw in it. I'm also going to give my own argument against Descartes' attempt to establish all of this on God and why it doesn't work, as yet another reason on top of the Cartesian Circle. So if you already know about the Cartesian Circle and Descartes' philosophy, then you can just skip to this timestamp to see my own argument against it, and you can comment your thoughts on it, discuss it in the comments, and let me know what you think against my argument. But if you're new to Descartes' philosophy and want to know more about the I think, therefore I am, the cogito, what this argument is that creates the Cartesian Circle, I'll go over that just now. So first we have to start off by explaining what Descartes was doing when he was doing his philosophy. What was he actually thinking? What was his method of doing his philosophy? In his philosophy, he has the hypothesis of a all-powerful evil demon. This demon is trying to deceive him in every way possible. So whatever he believes to be true can be deceived to be false by this demon. So he starts off simple by saying that maybe the colors that he sees have been deceived and they're not the right colors. Maybe he's being deceived by the demon to see colors that are not correct. Maybe the textures that he feels are not correct. Maybe the demon is deceiving him. Maybe the other people that he talks to are not even real. Maybe the demon is deceiving him into believing that he has people around him that he's talking to, but there's really nobody there and it's just the deception of the demon. Eventually, he comes to doubt the entire existence of the material world, so the material world doesn't even exist. And then he moves on to doubt even his own thoughts, and comes to the point where he doubts logic itself and reason itself, so even 2 + 2 = 4 could not be a true equation. It could be a deception from the demon. The demon has so much power that it could have warped his reasoning itself in order to make basic fundamental mathematical facts to be untrue, for him to be able to be mistaken about basic math. So after all of this doubting, after doubting the material world, after doubting the existence of other people, validity of math and logic itself, he comes down to one single thing that he can guarantee cannot be a deception from the demon and must be true, and that is himself. He states that there must be a mind in order to be deceived by the demon. The only way for him to get deceived is for him to exist. So the only thing that he knows for fact exists is himself. So there comes the sentence, I think, therefore I am. He is thinking, he is processing, and he is being deceived. Therefore, that means that the one guaranteed fact is that he exists. After establishing this, Descartes wants to attempt to step a little bit further, try to establish something else as a guarantee, as a fact that things would exist, as stuff that couldn't be doubted and the demon couldn't use deception in order to make us have false beliefs. He goes on to say that clear and distinct perceptions are something that can be relied upon, but still they can be deceived by the demon. Now before we go any further, what does Descartes mean by clear and distinct perceptions? Well, by clear perceptions, he means ideas that cannot be confused in any way possible. So when he thinks of the cogito or the I think, therefore I am, that is a clear idea that cannot be confused with any other idea. It cannot be confused with the idea of another person. It cannot be confused with the idea of another object. When you say I, when you say myself, you know what you're talking about. There's no way that can be confused. So this perception is clear, unlike the idea of maybe a triangle, which has the possibility of you being confused and thinking that a triangle has curved sides and the sum of its angles are more than 180. Now, what is a distinct perception? A distinct perception is very similar to a clear perception, but just a little bit different. That it is very different from any other idea It is not similar to any idea, it is an idea in itself. So that idea cannot be confused with anything else. So when you talk about a triangle, that is a distinct but unclear perception, because your idea of a triangle could be warped. It could be that you think that a triangle has more than 3 sides, but it is distinct in the fact that you know what you're talking about when you're talking about a triangle, and you know that a triangle is a separate idea than a square. Now, after defining these, Descartes says that these clear and distinct perceptions can still be manipulated by the demon. The demon can still deceive these perceptions, and you could be wrong. So what is his solution to protect these clear and distinct perceptions against deception? His solution is that God will protect these perceptions. So if Descartes' argument was formulated as a syllogism, it would sound like this. Clear and distinct perceptions cannot be trusted, as they can be deceived by the evil demon. God exists and is perfectly good, established by using clear and distinct perceptions. He basically says that through his clear and distinct perceptions, he knows that God exists and is perfectly good. God, being perfectly good, protects these clear and distinct perceptions against deception. So now you can really trust the clear and distinct perceptions because God is protecting it. If God protects clear and distinct perceptions from deception, that means that clear and distinct perceptions can be trusted. So there you go. We can trust clear and distinct perceptions because God is protecting it. So they are trustworthy and we can rely on them, and now we can move on, right? Unfortunately, this argument creates a circular loop of reasoning that has been called the Cartesian Circle. Now, what is the Cartesian Circle? This is what a lot of people would refer to as Descartes' biggest flaw in his reasoning. It is a circular argument that commits the begging of the question fallacy. And a fallacy is basically an argument which has a flaw in its reasoning, a line of reasoning which has a flaw in it. A simple example of a begging the question fallacy or circular reasoning would be, you should listen to your parents because they are right. You know that your parents are right because your parents say that they are right. This is a very dumbed down version of the fallacy in order to make it very simple to understand, but Descartes, sometimes people don't catch the fallacy in his argumentation because there's a lot of premises and there's a lot of going back and forth between understanding definitions, so the fallacy kind of gets lost for a lot of people, but it's definitely there. Now, if we go back to the syllogism that we talked about earlier, the second premise is where the issue lies. Descartes establishes that God exists and is perfectly good based upon clear and distinct perceptions. But earlier, Descartes stated that clear and distinct perceptions cannot be trusted. So what does he do in order to defend these clear and distinct perceptions in order to establish God's existence? He has God protect these clear and distinct perceptions. So what ends up basically happening is God tells Descartes, I exist because I exist. Now you may still think that this doesn't really sound circular. What's the problem here? Maybe we can just keep moving on with this argument. I don't see what this video is even about. What is the Cartesian Circle? Now this is where I think a visual graph would be more helpful. A visual picture of the arguments going on and the premises going on in order to show us the circularity of the argument. So here I made a diagram to demonstrate the circularity. Clear and distinct perceptions prove the existence and goodness of God. God protects clear and distinct perceptions against deception. Clear and distinct perceptions can only be trusted if God exists. So what happens is you're trying to establish the existence of God first on clear and distinct perceptions, but you need the clear and distinct perceptions to be protected by a God that you have to already have proven to exist. So how can you have God protect clear and distinct perceptions that tell you that he exists if you haven't established that he exists based on those protected clear and distinct perceptions? Now, why does it even matter if this is circular? Maybe we can just have a circular argument and move on. But the problem here is that Descartes is trying to establish a foundation for his philosophy. This is supposed to be a solid foundation on which he's supposed to build all epistemology. And when you're trying to build a solid foundation, you cannot have weaknesses and cracks of reasoning in the epistemology. So now here's my argument. Why could we not just say that the demon cannot influence clear and distinct perceptions, such as basic fundamental reasoning and logic? It seems like a lot of theists are very willing to use that with God when it comes to the problem of the paradox of omnipotence. Can God create a rock so heavy that he cannot lift? Well, in that case, no, because God cannot contradict logic. He cannot contradict himself. Okay, so by that same reason, why can the demon not contradict logic? Even if it's an all-powerful demon, why can it not contradict logic? God cannot make a four-sided triangle. Okay, why cannot the demon not be able to change mathematical laws? Furthermore, if Descartes really wants to take to the extremes of skepticism and really doubt every single thing possible, then let us do that. What if the demon is deceiving Descartes into believing that a God exists to protect his clear and distinct perceptions so that Descartes stops with this whole epistemology, philosophy, investigation thing? I don't see why this is not possible, because apparently the demon can influence and alter and deceive clear and distinct perceptions. And what is God founded upon in Descartes' philosophy? Clear and distinct perceptions. So why is it possible that the demon can deceive Descartes' clear and distinct perceptions, which he has founded God upon, in order to make him believe that God is protecting him and deceive him still and stop him from keep investigating everything? I think when it really comes down to it, the only thing that can be a guarantee here is the cogito, is the I think therefore I am, is the individual who is thinking, it is the mind, whatever it is, that's thinking. That is the only thing that the demon cannot deceive, because there needs to be a thing to deceive for the demon. Anything else on top of that is unfounded and extremely hard to support, because even the idea of God existing based on clear and distinct perceptions cannot be defended, because apparently the demon can still deceive clear and distinct perceptions. So it doesn't matter if God protects the clear and distinct perceptions, because the foundation upon which we know God exists can be deceived. So maybe even the fact that God exists is a deception from the demon. But anyways, that's my argument. That's my response to Descartes' argument that God is protecting distinct and clear perceptions. And I'm really curious what you guys think. What do you guys think about my argument? What do you guys think about the Cartesian Circle? Do you think it has any problem? Can you think of any solutions to it? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you learned anything new from this video, please consider hitting the like button, hit subscribe. I'm going to be making much more content like this. And thank you so much for watching.